In this video, Linus tries to avoid the exorbitant transfer fees of $400 from his logistics provider by taking a cab to Penitentes, but it's more of an adventure than he bargained for on the way to the entrance to Aconcagua Provincial Park. Subscribe to Slowboat Sailing, where we help you crush your outdoor adventure. So everything in Penitentes has a lot of road noise because it's so close to the road, so I apologize for that. But yesterday was kind of epic in terms of so I got done with the things I needed to do in Mendoza, and I saw Hotel Aylen had a spot, so either I'd get an extra day of acclimatization, an extra day on the mountain. So if I could get him to get Grajales to get the mules going in time for me to hike there today to Confluencia, then I'd do that. But and that's because I was pre-acclimatized. I still think this is a pretty low altitude. I was sleeping at well above this altitude, so I think this is about 8,400 feet. So what made it so epic though was Uber says that you can get a ride for between 33,000 and 50,000 pesos, which is at the official exchange rates is about $150 to under $100, maybe $80. But when you call the Uber drivers, they've got a scam. Number one, they get the fee for $760 for canceling it. So they'll accept and then they'll cancel. And then they'll negotiate with you. And so the first one, I'd gotten a quote already from a cab driver, and it was like, I don't know, 55,000. So, it's just what the market will bear, in my opinion. But I prefer to go through the Uber app. I think it's a lot safer if you go through the Uber app. Also, I don't like dealing in cash, even if it costs me more. But everybody takes their chances. But these guys want cash, and so the first guy wanted 50,000. So we get in. I say I'll pay him at Hotel Aylen, which is where I am now in Penitentes. You can see some kind of impressive looking mountains, but they're not this. I think you can see Aconcagua way back, but I think maybe the light angle, maybe that's will make it too hard. I'm not sure that I showed you the right one, but anyways, so he drives me around the city to his daughter's house, or where he lives, and he's like, oh, you need to get out of the cab. I'm like, no, I'm not getting out of the cab. I'm staying with my bags, man. I'm definitely not going to your back alley there. So then he gets his daughter-in-law to pull out the car, and he pulls out his car because all these guys that are driving for Uber are actually taxi drivers, right? So they're doing both. So they're using their taxi to drive Uber and other things. So and then he gets out the car, and he's like, we're gonna switch cars because I can't take the taxi out of town. And so actually the first guy I called, he was like, I would do it except I can't take the taxi out of town. Okay, so I don't know if that's true. The last guy did take his taxi out of the town, but anyways, and so I'm like, okay, we'll switch. And his daughter speaks a little English, and she said, you need to sit in the front, and he can't take the taxi out of town, and you have to pay him 50,000 cash. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. We agreed to that. We did that through Google Translate. So and then he starts driving, and he's like, I need to get gas. and you need to pay for it. And I'm like, no, no. No, that's going to be, more than the cost of the ride. He's got an empty tank of gas in this thing. And I'm like, you have to pay for the gas, and I pay you at the hotel. He's like, well, you could prepay me. I'm like, no, I'm calling the police. Take me back to the hotel. So he did take me back to the hotel, I guess, somewhat to his credit. So he's not into kidnapping, he just maybe extortion. So then I call another guy, or I try to call the Comfort taxi, which so Comfort is like 55, but there are no Comforts around because everybody drives a crappy taxi that drives for Uber, right? And so then I get this guy, and he's like, okay, please cancel it. I'm like, no, I'm not canceling it. I have to pay for that. And I'm on the location, so I'm like in the chat saying, you gotta come. So anyways, he ends up canceling it in the end. But first he negotiates 50, but given that this is maybe the fourth guy I'm talking to, I think the quote I got from the first taxi when I came into town was 55. I thought 60, fine. They need to be motivated. They're not getting enough. So we negotiate 60, but I make it clear, no gas. He has to pay for his own gas. And so we do. It would be like less than a 3-hour trip, except there was like an hour of stop traffic for no reason. So I get in. So I started this like at 5 o'clock, but I end up getting in Hotel Aylen like right after midnight. But I don't know. My whole experience with Uber is that the Argentinian cab drivers use it as a booking service so they can do off-duty work with the cabs, and they prefer not to actually do the rides but get the fee that Uber charges if somebody doesn't show up. So if you use Uber in Argentina, then you'll have all these charges which you have to dispute with your credit card company. They're $700. Today it was like $760, so it's basically $2 charges, and the taxi drivers like that because they don't have to do any work for the $2. They just have to cancel. Anyway, so today we'll see if we get to go to Aconcagua. It's that way. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, there it is, way in the background. I think that's the south face of Aconcagua would be my guess. And so I think that's where we're headed. But it's going to take a while. Subscribe. So you can see this is the Hotel Aylen here. It's kind of really run down. There's no safes in the rooms. But it's obviously better accommodation than you're going to have on Aconcagua. So most people stay like one night here and then go on to the mountain. This room was like $163 at the last minute. Hotel Aylen doesn't open up their bookings until really late, I think. So if you try to book this like 3 months in advance, you won't be able to. So that's something to keep in mind. I ended up going the place across the street, the Aries de Montaña, which is probably a nicer place, but you don't get a free breakfast, and so and they don't have a 24-hour check-in. So there's some benefits to Hotel Aylen, and I think it's it's great for acclimatization to come here and spend a night at least.